Okay, so I had a friend that I know a lot of people that are getting into the FPV scene and they have no idea how to do betaflight. So this is my Hawk 5. So instead of doing this video over and over again, showing a lot of different people, just having to explain it over and over again, I'm just going to do it once and not have to worry about doing it again. So anybody can watch this video on YouTube.
Switch warning.
First thing, when you're plugging in a battery to power up your receiver and plugging into the computer, always take off your propellers. That's my Hawk 5 powering up. Now at this point, first thing you're going to want to do is connect. And first thing off is you're going to want to go to ports. You're going to have to figure out which you have your receiver soldered to. For me, it's UART1. It's S-Bus. You may see some other stuff. I have smart audio going. That's completely different. That's on UART6. So that would be TX6 transmitter 6 because it's transmitting a signal, and just TBS smart audio and stereo RX. Just click that. UART3. I don't even know why that. Oh yeah, I'm running a F port receiver. It's the XSR receiver. So after you've done all this, go down, hit save and my computer's being a little slow. Now, go into configuration. I actually run my motors reversed, so the props don't throw anything into my camera. I can formal coat my electronics, so I don't have to worry about anything getting flung on my electronics and shorting them. But other than that, you're going to want to set your ESC motor protocol. Most ESCs nowadays do at least D-Shot 300 or 150. If it's a whoop, it's brushed. Not many times are you going to come across ESCs that are using straight PWM anymore. If you're not sure, use one-shot 125, but most are going to use at least D-Shot 600 or 300, so choose that. I never have motor stop on. That basically means when you arm it, the motors don't spin. So when it's at zero throttle, the motors don't spin. That's bad, especially when you're in an acro mode. Then down here, system configuration. Oh, wait. Now first, we need to go to receiver. I'm using a serial based receiver, and I'm using a RXSR flash with FreeSky F port. So I would choose those two, and you can see in here, serial based receiver, FreeSky F port. I would choose those and hit save and reboot. I don't want to change anything just in case I've done anything, so hit save and reboot. I'm just going to disconnect and reconnect again, because every time you save and reboot, it does it again. Now that you've done this, you want to go into your receiver tabs and make sure everything is moving. This is throttle, this is yaw, this is pitch, this is roll. Now you want to make sure that all your sliders go from 1000 to 2000. Also, your stick high threshold, usually it only says 1900. Set that to 2000. So right now we're just worried about throttle, yaw, pitch, and roll. So ailerons, elevators, rudder, and throttle. The aux tabs we'll get to once we get to modes. I also personally don't even run an accelerometer, but that's just my preferred. I never fly in angle mode or horizon. I always fly in straight air mode, so acro. So after you see everything's working, if it's doing anything crazy, you go up under here. Like me, I'm running FreeSky, so I would hit that. If I hit Spectrum, you'll actually see the quad will start going nuts. See? Because it has the sticks backwards. So yeah, you go through all that, and then again hit save, disconnect. Well, yeah, save and disconnect. Now at this point, you're getting close to being done. You're going to want to set up your modes. You're going to want to set up ARM, which this is when you start using your switches. It has an auto scan feature. So basically hit add range and then flip your switch, and my props are off, but you hit the switch and make sure that it goes into that yellow portion. Angle mode, I actually have this one set up to fly in angle, horizon, and everything. But this is where you go to set up all your switches. First you have to set it up in your radio so it's sending the right signal out to the receiver, and then you can set this up. It all depends on your radio. If you're running Free Sky, if you're running Spectrum, it all depends on what radio you're using. Spectrum's already sending out some signals. Free Sky, you actually have to go into input and then mixer to set all that stuff up. I always have a beeper set up. Air mode, always. I personally have a black box erase, so I can erase my black box at any point so I can get new information. Flip over after crash is a must to me. And then you do all that, hit save. And then once you're done with this, you want to unplug the quad, battery and everything, plug it back in, make sure when you arm it, the motors spin. If the motors spin up faster than what you think, that's actually normal. I will go ahead and say that. Now, the next thing I do immediately is failsafe. I always set my failsafe to 10 and 10. So after 1 second of not getting a signal, it will hover, it'll stay in whatever orientation it is, and then a second after that, it'll just drop from the sky. I would rather it do that than try to land somewhere. I have it set to drop straight out of the sky. I can always replace parts. It's hard to replace an entire quad. So after you set up failsafe, just 10 and 10, that's my preferred length. Save and reboot. And again, my computer's not acting right. It's supposed to take you back to this screen when you hit save and reboot and then go back in. After that, you can go into your OSD to make sure you have everything on here where you want it when you put on your goggles. I like to keep it as basic as possible. I just want my RSSI value, my voltage, my fly minutes, how many milliamp hours I've used out of my battery, and what flight mode I've used, and even then I've hardly ever used that, so I'm even going to take that off. So I keep it very basic down here. I don't even name it. I don't even give a throttle position, which that's good if you're showing people how long, like a new King Kong, LG ARC or whatever, it can fly for 15 minutes on a 4S pack if you're just cruising around. Grayson Hobby did a thing for that. Now, the last thing that I usually do is power and battery. What battery are you using? Well, I like to set my minimum cell voltage to 3.3, nothing lower than that. Maximum 4.3, even though it's usually 4.2. Warning cell voltage, meaning low battery, 3.5. So at when it sees that the battery has gotten to 3.5 volts per cell, it'll start saying low voltage. Once it gets to 3.3 volts per cell, it will say land now. And then you also have to choose onboard ADC. Some use a ESC sensor. So depending on the stack you're using, the parts you're using, some of that may change, but I'm just going vaguely over what's needed to do. PID tuning, if you're new to this, honestly, I would leave that alone. But for me, I always set it up. I use the stock rates that they have. I'm going to actually unplug my quad now because it's getting warm because of VTX. But I use the online rates, the online PIDs for the Hawk 5. I haven't even tuned it yet. And then I use my own RC rate and super rate. That's just how I like mine to fly. I don't have any crazy jumps or very unpredictable movements in it. It's somewhat linear. And I probably could smooth it out, but I like to do snap rolls and flips and stuff like that. So I run 110 RC rate and 0.82 super rate on all axes. So after that point, you are essentially done. You can go into the motors tab and make sure all the motors are spinning in the right correction. I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to go over the basics of how to do it. So yeah, you got to set up, and this actually shows all that. So ports, set up your ports, go into configuration, set up your receiver, set up your ESC motor protocol, set up your gyro update frequency. 8K is about the best you're going to get unless you're using a race flight or KISS board that can do 32 kilohertz sampling, which I don't even know if that's available here. No, it's not. So you can do 32 kilohertz if you have the right flight controller. I think the new F7 boards can do 32 kilohertz. You just have to have a fast chip. That's what the different chips are. You got the F1, the F3, the F4, now you got the F7. The F4 can do 8K. On my whoops, it can only do, on my betaflight brushless whoop, it can only do 8K, 4K. But also here, you can shut off your accelerometer if you want to shut it off. If you're only going to fly acro, you can also go down here, turn on and off your OSD, turn on air mode as a feature, so no other flight mode is used. Anti-gravity, I use that, but that's more of a tuning perspective, and I'm not going to get into tuning in this, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do here. And yeah, after configuration, save and reboot, and then go to your receiver, make sure you're seeing everything. And when you give it input, make sure the quad down here is acting just like the input you're giving it. So I'm pitching forward, it pitches forward, I'm rolling right, rolls right, roll left, yaw right, roll, yaw's right. As far as throttle, you just have to see that on the throttle tab it goes up and down. After that's done, save. Also remember to set your stick height threshold to 2000. Make sure your channel map is set up correctly. My RSSI channel is disabled. I'm going to have to enable that. I don't remember which one it is. I got this flying and then I just let it sit. It was flying great. So, and I have telemetry on the radio itself, so I wasn't really worried about it. But I do have it, so that would actually be RSI channel. Would actually be aux 12. So now on my OSD, I will be able to see no, that wouldn't be aux 12. That would be aux 8. Because you have aileron, elevator, rudder, and throttle, and then you have to count down. I don't know, so that is aux 12. Excuse me. Or maybe 16. I don't know exactly. I'd have to actually go back. I'm just going to stick with aux 12. And now it'll actually show in my OSD my RSSI percentage. Set up your modes. And then after you're done, go outside for a quick test hover, line of sight, set it down and get far away from it. Just in case something wants to spaz out, it won't hurt you. Arm it, and then see it fly. Once you have everything going, just strap the goggles on and have fun. If you have any questions, please comment below. And if need be, I'll make more videos on how to do this. As far as tuning, I am still learning that. I've only been doing this since December. of 2017. But I have learned tuning, like my Diatone GTM3 on 4S. It had some really warbly oscillations when I would give it full throttle. That was because the D term, the derivative, was set too high on roll and pitch. So all I did was drop it by 10 points, and it completely went away. But yeah, now I'm getting this stuff that I said I wasn't going to. So yeah, that right there is how you that's basically how to set up a quad for dummies. You do you set up your ports, do the configuration, make sure you're seeing that the flight controller is seeing all the inputs from your radio and the receiver tab. Once all that's done, then set up your modes. Then set up your failsafe, because that's going to make it so your quad doesn't fly away. If it loses signal, it'll just drop out of the sky. Which, I mean, that may sound bad, but would you rather it fly away and you never be able to find it, or would you rather it drop out of the sky and you have to replace a motor or an arm? Yeah. But yeah, modes, then failsafe, then power and battery. But usually power and battery's default is set just perfect. But like I said, if need be, I can go into a more in-depth video of each one of these. It's very easy if you actually sit down and research. And there's so many videos, and this is yet another video. But even my anti-gravity threshold, when I get above 350, my anti-gravity gain starts going up. And the anti-gravity simply makes the I term go up. But you also have TPA, which can make the I gain go down once you get to a high throttle. So anti-gravity is basically always on. So I hope this helps people that are brand new to quads and they get a bind and fly and they think that they're going to be able to get it straight out of the box, get in,
Telemetry lost,
and get everything flying. No, it doesn't work like that. Some of them, like the Inductrix, stuff like that, yeah, you can get it straight out of the box and get it flying immediately, but most quads, you're going to have to do some configuring. And not only do you have betaflight,